Today, I have an update from IonQ for you guys. IonQ demonstrates path to scale quantum manufacturing in partnership with Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. So on February 17th, IonQ and the US Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, which I'm just going to be referring to as PNNL for the rest of the video, as that first part was a mouthful, and they announced that this partnership has generated a reliable and robust source of barium qubits for IonQ's quantum computers. And what I particularly love about this update is that it harkens back to December 2021, which was when IonQ first announced that it was going to be using barium qubit technology. And to my knowledge, I haven't found another quantum computing company out there right now that is using barium. And I'm not saying they don't exist, but what I am saying is, even if there is a quantum computing company out there right now that is using barium, I don't think they're using it to quite the same scale that IonQ is. And what this tells me is that IonQ seems to have a pretty good advantage here when it comes to their research and development team, because from all the research I've done on IonQ, the one defining factor that I can say with this company is that they're not afraid to try new things or push new ideas, which is honestly really refreshing to see, and also tells me that IonQ is going to continue to remain relevant and on top of their game, as I believe this is a company that is going to be pushing the boundaries of what quantum computers are capable of. So if you're an investor in IonQ, I think it's also important to know the advantages that barium can bring to IonQ's technology, which is actually already being used in IonQ's barium-based quantum computer. Okay, so the first advantage that barium can bring here is low error rates, higher gate fidelity, and better state detection, where IonQ expects barium qubits to improve the performance of their quantum gates and qubit measurement, which of course will lead to even more useful computers. And if you want to know more about what quantum gates are, I actually already did a video about them in the context of IonQ, so I'll leave a link in the description of this video where I break down in simple terms what a quantum gate is and how IonQ is leveraging them to make more powerful computers. The second advantage which barium qubits have is a foundation for iterable, more reliable hardware with more uptime for customers. You see, barium qubits are controlled primarily with visible light rather than ultraviolet light, and this is important because what it means is that IonQ will be able to build its future quantum computers with standard silicon photonics technology. And understandably, visible light devices are easier to source and are also more reliable than ultraviolet. So by using standard technology, this will also allow IonQ to scale its computers and replace components more easily, providing more computing time for customers than ever before. Which leads me to the third and last advantage that barium has. It allows for a more easily networked quantum system. You see, IonQ plans to connect multiple quantum processing units together with light, creating this huge modular system with insane amounts of processing power. And barium qubits pave the way for higher levels of device integration and easier networking of multiple systems. Overall though, IonQ believes that the collaboration with PNNL will supply barium qubits for its quantum computers for as long as IonQ requests them. And while I haven't read the official deal between these two companies or anything, what this tells me is that there seems to be no fixed date for when this partnership will end, which isn't always a good thing for a lot of partnerships, but in this case, I actually see it as a positive thing, because having enough barium is most definitely going to be a key step as we begin to see IonQ stepping up its scale in manufacturing operations. So in addition to creating a new pipeline of ions to power IonQ's computers, over the course of 2 years, IonQ and PNNL were actually able to shrink the barium source material down to a microscopic scale. And according to the teams over at IonQ, this is actually pretty significant, because it allows IonQ to reduce the size of its system components, which is another key step in creating quantum computers small enough to network and chain together. And I mean, that's where everything's headed anyway when it comes to technology and IoT. Make it smaller, make it faster, and chain it together. And Peter Chapman, president and CEO of IonQ, stated, IonQ's work with PNNL to secure the domestic supply chain of IonQ's quantum computing qubits is a fundamental key step in the mass commercialization of quantum computing. Qubits are at the core of our quantum computers, and this collaboration with PNNL lays out the foundation for us to scale manufacturing for our systems. And this is actually another huge advantage that IonQ has, and this is actually something I admire them for. They are sourcing their materials domestically instead of relying on another foreign country, like China for instance, where more likely than not, you'd probably be able to find cheaper source materials than domestic supplies. But at the end of the day, sourcing from within the United States is a huge win for IonQ in my opinion, because it brings them closer to the source, and of course it helps boost the domestic economy around IonQ so that they can thrive better. So on top of all of this, IonQ really does have a lot of great things going for them. IonQ's partnership with PNNL actually builds on the company's existing partnerships with the US government. And if you guys recall, back in November of 2021, IonQ became the first pure-play quantum computing manufacturer to join the Northwest Quantum Nexus, along with Microsoft, the University of Washington, and PNNL. And this past September, IonQ announced another government partnership to build the first of its kind National Quantum Lab, also known as QLab, at the University of Maryland. And in addition, IonQ's co-founder and chief scientist, Professor Christopher Monroe, serves on the National Quantum Initiative Advisory Committee. And Marvin Warner, a PNNL materials scientist, stated, "We are thrilled to contribute PNNL's chemistry expertise to the quantum computing community. It is particularly satisfying to collaborate on what will become the core components of IonQ's systems." So all in all guys, there's actually some really good stuff coming out with IonQ lately, and I really think people are sleeping on this stock. However, you need to view this partnership with PNNL as one of several of IonQ's initiatives aimed at expanding quantum computing manufacturing, not just in the Pacific Northwest, but the world. And even though quantum computers kind of seem like this distant, abstract thing that only science nerds use to solve really complex math problems, well, quantum computing kind of is that, but it's also so much more. Practical applications of quantum computing go beyond what you may think and can span as far out as utilization in better weather forecasting predictions, more advanced tax fraud detection systems, building out more advanced EV batteries, and even more quickly discovering pharmaceutical cures for some of the world's deadliest illnesses. Bottom line is, quantum computing is going to play a major role and work as the backbone of how advanced data models are built in the future. It's actually pretty interesting because, in a way, quantum computers will remain invisible to a majority of the world, as a majority of these powerful machines will be harnessed through the cloud and software development kits. And yet, I think quantum computers are going to have an insanely prominent role in our future. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit hyperbole here, but I really do believe they're going to play an important role in the future of how our technology is used and built. Anyway, just my opinion at the end of the day. I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy IonQ, and I'm not going to tell you to sell it. Do your own research into IonQ and quantum computing in general. And if you come to the same realization that IonQ is as cool of a company as I think it is, then you'll probably understand why investing in this company, while risky, is a bet worth taking. And that'll wrap up the video for today. Thanks to everyone who made it to the end, and I'll catch you next time.